Welcome to the Let's Get Vulnerable podcast. It's your host, Dr. Morgan. I'm so excited to be here with you. I just got back from Miami and oh my goodness, I had the most amazing time. I was with Jamie C speaking at the Rising Wealth event. And wow, I spoke about my story and attachment styles. And I actually applied attachment theory to your relationship with your business. Because the reality is that attachment styles show up everywhere. They're in every relationship. So if you are not securely attached in your romantic relationships, it's likely you're also experiencing that in friendships or your relationship with money or your relationship with your career. Of course, in family relationships, your attachment style is showing up everywhere. So I loved this event. There were so many amazing people, and it always amazes me the number of people who come up to me and they go, "Wow, I did not know about attachment styles, and now that I do, it has completely changed my life." So I love getting to educate and help people really understand themselves and know what their attachment style is. Obviously, if you're new to the show and you haven't taken my attachment style quiz, you're going to want to do that. Go to the link in the show notes. There's a free quiz. It'll tell you the percentage that you are of each style. So, what percentage anxious, avoidant, secure you are. That is an incredible place to start. We have to start with awareness, right? So, go check that out. But I'm just so grateful for what I get to do and this amazing journey of showing up every single week, serving you all, giving you this content on this podcast and helping you understand yourselves and heal and change so that you can have the kinds of relationships that you deserve. I just feel so grateful. And this is my purpose, what I'm meant to do. And I love you all so much. You don't even know. I love this community. I love being connected to people who are ready to heal, who are ready to grow, who want to have healthy, loving, secure relationships. You're my people. I've got you, okay? And if you have ever been through a situationship that has ended and you feel like you've experienced the death of a situationship, then this episode is for you. I've been getting a lot of people in the DMs and just hearing from a lot of people that they're going through the end of a situationship and it is wrecking them. Have you ever experienced that where you were with someone, it wasn't defined, but you did all the things that you would do as if you were in a serious relationship? Maybe you went out to dinners with them, you met their friends, maybe you even met their family. Maybe you even went on vacation together and you had all this chemistry and these moments together. And the time that he said, "Oh, our kids would have great eyebrows." I'm just throwing it out there. That's something my fiance and I joke about because we both have these like crazy eyebrows. We're like, our kids are going to have some serious eyebrows. Anyways, you were in this on again, off again. Is it something more? I think it could really be something, but we haven't defined it. Maybe it was like months, maybe it was only a couple weeks, or maybe it was years. There are situationships that can last years. How many of you are like, "Yep, I know, I've been in one." And the thing about this kind of relationship is it can crazy hit you so hard and leave you completely shattered and depressed and down and really sad and mourning when it's done. And why could a relationship that actually wasn't even fully a quote unquote serious relationship, why could that have that impact on us? We're going to explore that in today's episode. And first off, I just want to give you so much compassion and love if you've gone through something like that. I know how hard it is. I, of course, have experienced these kinds of relationships. I had one pop into my mind as I was doing the intro there. And I can remember just being so into this guy and doing everything I could to try to make it work, getting those random texts and being like, oh, yeah, I'll drop everything and cancel my plans with my girlfriends and come meet you. Um, and just having so much fun with this specific person and just like giggling and having all of this fun. Meanwhile, anytime a conversation about where is this going, what do we feel, is this a serious relationship, anytime I would try to bring anything like that up, it was just pushed aside. And it was like, come on, Morgs. He called me Morgs. Come on, Morgs. We're just having fun. And this was a really challenging relationship for me to get over. I remember I had just had all these visions about like us being a power couple and what the relationship would be like. And I had actually met his family and I had spent so much time with this person. And then it was like out of nowhere, he just stopped returning my texts and stopped returning my calls. And it was just like it was over. And I did eventually get a text from him that was like, sorry, I'm just so busy and this isn't going to work for me. Something like that. It really wasn't an explanation. There was not emotion there. There was no, I'm so glad we had this relationship and I'm happy we spent time together, even though we're not compatible. There was no actual recognition of what we had. And when a relationship ends like that, you're just left going, well, what the F happened, right? This is partly why I'm going to go through a list of reasons why it's so hard to get over this kind of connection. But this is partly why you don't have any of the data. There's oftentimes this lack of closure. You don't know why it ended, right? And I want to point something out. If you're in a situationship that's an undefined relationship, it's likely that there's emotional unavailability, probably on both sides, but for sure, at least on one side. And that means that, of course, if the relationship's ending, the conversation about why it's ending, the conversation about how it felt, any kind of closure, that's going to be very, very difficult because with emotional unavailability, there's this lack of being able to express your experience, being able to express your emotions, right? So, of course, the ending of a situationship mirrors the relationship itself, which is that there's not open, honest, direct conversations. We don't know what we're doing, right? It's undefined. So, of course, the ending is going to match what the relationship was like. And I think sometimes when you're in the midst of that kind of breakup, you're just wanting the closure so badly and you keep asking for it. And it's almost as if there's supposed to be some miracle, and all of a sudden, this person can openly and honestly and directly communicate. But the reality is, like, that's just not their capacity, that it never was, right? So you're left with lack of closure. And then let's talk about attachment styles for a second. When a situationship ends, if you have an anxious attachment style, this is like your worst fear coming true. You're going, oh, of course I was abandoned. Of course I wasn't good enough. Of course this didn't work out. And then likely, especially with anxious attachment style, you're going back through the relationship and you're analyzing everything you ever said, everything you ever did, and you're just looking at it with a fine-tooth comb, looking for, what did I do wrong? There's so much blaming yourself, right? You're stuck in this feeling of, oh, if only I had not asked for what I needed, or if only I had set a boundary earlier. You just come up with all of these false narratives around, oh, if only XYZ had been different, then the relationship would have worked out. So you're stuck doing that with anxious attachment. And I think one of the important things too is that what this does is it's confirming your beliefs about love. So you have this experience and you go, well, yeah, of course I'm always going to be abandoned. Of course this happened. And then those beliefs get stronger, right? I will point out that even with an avoidant attachment style, the end of this type of relationship is still painful because for the avoidantly attached person, they're going, yep, couldn't handle it. Yep, relationships don't work out. Yep, I'm better off alone. I'm better off alone, right? So there's pain no matter which attachment style you have when this type of relationship ends. Of course, what happens in the aftermath? The avoidantly attached person is likely to move on really quickly. They're likely to have a new love interest because guess what? They're disconnecting from their emotions and they're very good at numbing and they're very good at action. So they're taking action, they're finding a new love interest, while the anxiously attached person is probably going to spend more time spiraling, feeling emotionally dysregulated. They may reach out to people quickly, they may have new love interests, but emotionally they're not even going to be able to really engage because they're just going to spend more time processing the end of that relationship. So there's some attachment style perspective. One thing I want to talk about, this is such a key piece in understanding the quote unquote death of a situationship, is looking at how do we take repetition compulsion and apply that to what's happening, right? Repetition compulsion, if you've never listened to my episodes on this before, you should go back and listen to some of the older ones. But it is essentially this idea that as we are dating in our adult romantic relationships, we're very likely to take our childhood unfinished business, our past relational trauma, instances where we experience pain and hurt in our past relationships. We take those dynamics and we reenact them in our adult dating relationships. So we're recreating past dynamics. Why are we doing this? The brain has an unconscious wish that this time you would get a different result. This time you'll get the emotionally unavailable person to choose you. And what does this mean? If you can get them to choose you, if you can get that different outcome and get the relationship to work out, it makes up for all the pain you experienced in the past. And I'll never forget when I first was studying repetition compulsion and I first had that light bulb moment of understanding what I was doing in my relationships. I'm pretty sure I remember actually, I just had chills. I had goosebumps, chills go throughout my body. I had immediate tears fill my eyes and I was crying. And it was just this realization of, oh my God, I have been recreating the pain from my past relationships in my dating life. And I've had this desire, this unconscious desire, that if I can just get someone to choose me and choose me fully, that it'll mean that I'm finally good enough. I'm finally good enough, and it'll make up for all those things I felt in the past, right? So I myself have gone through applying repetition compulsion to my dating life. And I can tell you that that awareness alone was not enough to change it for me. There was still so much I had to do in order to become securely attached. But having that awareness really, really helps. So if you are grieving a situationship that died, I'm just going to give you a second. Think about it. Do you have somebody that's still on your mind that it was never really a relationship, but they're still coming up for you, like who do you think of when I say that? I know there's someone, okay? There might be a couple people, but you have that grief. And I want you to realize this. If you've been unable to let go of it, if it has felt so, what's the word I'm looking for? I want to say crushing. If it has just felt crushing, debilitating, heavy, then I have to tell you this. It's not actually about that relationship. Really, when we understand repetition compulsion fully and we're applying it, we go, oh, so the unconscious wish was that if I could get it to turn out differently, it would make up for everything in the past. Well, what happens when it turns out the same? Because when you are with an emotionally unavailable person, no matter how perfect, no matter how good you are, they're not going to show up fully and choose you. It's not about you being good enough, right? So when it turns out the same, that this person doesn't have capacity to love you, or if you have avoidant attachment, it might be more that you don't have capacity to show up in the relationship either, right? Regardless, you have the same outcome. What happens then? Then the brain will bring up all of your past relationship failures, all of your past relationship trauma, and it's going to bring it up and it's going to remind you of it and say, see, this is not going to work. You really are unlovable. You really are not good enough. You really will always be abandoned. You won't get people to fully choose you. Your relationships never work out. Remember when your dad was emotionally unavailable? Remember when your first boyfriend cheated on you? Remember when that guy said that he loved you, but then broke up with you? It's going to pull all of those past relationship traumas that you've experienced that relate to that dynamic, and it's going to bring them to the forefront. And you are experiencing the grief of the situationship, but also the grief of all your past relationship trauma. And even more painful than that, you're experiencing the grief of what you believe to be true about relationships and what you believe to be true actually happening. So it's this grieving that is so layered, right? It's not just about the fact that that situationship ended. It's about the fact that you had this desire that this time it would be different, and it was the same. It was the same, and it reminded you of the trauma you experienced in the past. And what happens is you go, okay, I'm done. This is why so many people, when they go through, I'm kind of laughing because I've said this so many times myself. So I have to laugh, where it's like, I'm done. I'm not dating anymore. I don't need a relationship. I'm just going to focus on my career. I'm going to adopt a bunch of dogs. I'm going to travel the world. I'm going to hang out with my girlfriends. I'm done. I'm done dating, right? Because you get to this point where you go, this is effed up. The same thing happens over and over. I am in so much pain. I am grieving, right? This is so painful. But what I need you to realize is, yes, you feel that way and your feelings are valid. And what I want you to do is when you're in this place is actually have so much love and compassion and understanding for yourself and a ton of curiosity. I want you to actually be very curious about, where is this sadness coming from? And here's a great prompt you can ask yourself. So you might want to write this down. It's a great journal prompt if you're working on getting over this kind of relationship. Is I want you to ask yourself, what would have it meant if this person would have chosen me? Another way you could say it is, if this relationship had worked out, what would have that meant about me? And I want you to just journal on that, because I think you'll be surprised. For some of you, you'll go, oh my gosh, It would have meant that I would have finally been lovable. It would have meant that I was enough. It would have meant that I've always been enough, right? You're looking to resolve your unhealed relational trauma by recreating the dynamics and getting a different result. But here's what actually resolves the relational trauma. Are you ready? So how do we actually resolve it? Well, we look at those past wounds. We examine them. We look at, oh, okay, you had an emotionally unavailable father or mother or both. You started to learn that you weren't enough or that you had to achieve in order to be loved, that you were a burden, all those unhelpful beliefs. You started to learn those things. And we have to look at it with compassion and understanding and then help you let it go. This is what I specialize in is I help people let it go. So we let go of the past trauma. Once we've looked at it, we can't let it go until we look at it. And then what happens? Then you need to become a different version of yourself, a version of yourself that no longer has the desire to recreate those old dynamics. It's no longer walking around with the insecure attachment style that's attracting those types of partners, who no longer has these beliefs about love that I'm not enough and I'm not worthy of love, but I can make someone love me. All of the unhelpful beliefs that are rooted in relational trauma. You become the version of you that has set those things down, who now has beliefs about themselves and beliefs about relationships, and the version of you who can embody secure attachment. And then what happens? You start having corrective emotional experiences. You start having new, healthy experiences in your relationships. And those new, healthy experiences are then confirming your new, healthy beliefs. And you are able to become the version of you who can attract and maintain emotionally available, securely attached love. So that's how we actually resolve our past trauma is we go to the root, we work on it at the root, and that part is painful. You need help to do it. You can't do it by yourself, right? So we work on it at the root. We help you become a different version of yourself. And then in becoming that different version, you start to have different relationship experiences. And those experiences confirm your new relationship belief systems. This is something I have studied now for so long, and I've helped thousands of people do this. I've done this myself. And I just have so much empathy for people who are scared because I was really scared to do this work too. I get emotional thinking about it. I'm about to start my period. When I tell you, like, I have just been crying and I'm just just accept it, right? It's just like I'm just gonna cry. Like I think I was watching the Hallmark Channel and I was just sobbing about the Hallmark Channel. There was another show I was watching with my partner. I was actually watching Shrinking, which is a great show. And there was like one part in Shrinking and just tears just streaming. And then my partner looked over and he's like, I've got you, babe. It's okay. It's okay to cry. And then I'm crying more because he's so empathic and loving and oh my God, this is my person and he just gets me. And yeah, just all the tears. And now I forgot what I was going to say. What was I? Oh yeah. I remembered. Oh, thank you guys putting up with my ADHD brain. Okay. I was scared to do this work. I was terrified because I'm emotional again. I might cry because I had so much that I avoided for a really long time. I was really ashamed. When I think about, the fact that I lost my mom, when I was 6 years old. And it wasn't just this easy to explain thing. It was that she had this allergic reaction and she was in a vegetative state. And I lost her at age 6, but she actually passed away when I was 26. And it was just this messy, painful, traumatic thing. And if I'm really honest with you guys, I was in so much denial and shame and pain from that experience that even the people who were closest to me, even some of my best friends, didn't even know that that had happened to me until I was probably in my early 30s. I couldn't talk about it. I couldn't talk about it. I couldn't talk about it in therapy. I couldn't talk about it anywhere. In my journal, I was so scared to revisit that pain because I thought that if I did, that I would never come out of it. I thought that if I went down that path and looked at those experiences and worked on that trauma, I thought I'd never come out of it. So I avoided it for a really, really long time. And I can tell you this, that if you're listening and that's you, I have so much love for you. And I just want you to know that the only way forward is through. And I hate that cliche, and you may hate that I said that, but it's true. It's one of those annoying cliches that's true. Really, to have the life that you want, to have the kind of relationship you want, to have the kind of career you want, to wake up in the morning and just feel good in your body and to feel good about yourself. It's on the other side of walking through your trauma, walking through that past pain so that you can look at it, but you can finally look at it from a place of the adult, healed version of you, and you can make sense of it. And then you can lovingly set it aside. And until you do that, you will continue to repeat the patterns that you're repeating in your life. So I just want to encourage you, if you're listening to this, you're going, but Dr. Morgan, you don't know. I went through this abusive relationship, or I went through blah, blah, blah. I just want you to know, like, I do get it. I do get it. And you are stronger than what has happened to you. And you deserve to step out of the patterns that were created because of your trauma. You deserve to step out of those patterns and embody your secure self so that you can finally attract the kind of relationship that you've always wanted. And there's someone out there right now who would love to date you, who would be so excited to build a healthy, intentional, secure, emotionally available relationship with you. And I just need you to know that you're worthy. You are worthy of doing the work. And if you need help, I've got you. Like I said, I've helped so many people at this point. I would love to help you. We do have the Empowered.Secure.Loved program. If you need help, if you need the structure, I'm telling you, don't wait. This is your time. If this episode's resonated with you, maybe you were getting over a situationship, or maybe you're dealing with your past trauma, like, hey, this is your sign. It's time to do the work. Okay. So you can just use the link in the show notes and apply. It's a super simple process. And I want you to just give yourself so much gratitude. Give yourself love, gratitude, acknowledgement that you are deciding to heal. I just can't stress enough how rare it is. I run into people all the time, super successful people, even like you guys, like multi-millionaire business owner people, people who are doctors, lawyers, etc. I just want you to know, like, even it's just like the financial success or the career success. Like when you really talk to those people, if their relationship life is not where it needs to be, they're not happy. Like I feel like in our society, we've just so associated happiness with like, oh, the financial goals and the career success. But like, guys, I've talked to those people. I've talked to the multimillionaire business owners, look uber successful, look like they have it all from the outside. And some of them are, married and they look like they have these incredible relationships. But then you really have these conversations with them and they're struggling. They've never dealt with their childhood trauma. They're still showing up anxiously attached or with disorganized attachment, and their nervous system's dysregulated, and they're not able to even accept the good in their lives because it doesn't even feel safe to accept anything good. And these people that are stuck in fight or flight mode and they just haven't healed. So I want you to know, like, even if you've been taught to just prioritize the financial success, of course, that's wonderful. And I think we're all deserving of that. And I also want you to know that it's not really going to mean anything until you become securely attached and you learn how to regulate your nervous system. It's just how it is. So if money could just cure trauma and make people happy, I feel like that would just be almost a lot easier. But remember what I said. The only way forward is through. Like we just have to do the work. We just have to do it. And I know I avoided it for a long time. So if you've been in that avoidance place, this is not about judging yourself. It's not about saying like, well, I should have done this 10 years ago. It's about saying, you know what? Enough is enough. Today is the day. I'm changing my life. I'm becoming securely attached. I'm healing. I'm letting go of my past, right? Like today is the day. So I hope that you choose healing, whether it's from past trauma or you're getting out of a situationship, wherever you are. I hope that you choose healing. And obviously, I'm here to support you. And if you'd like to work with me, you know what to do. It's the link in the show notes. You can click to apply to the program. All right, y'all. I got very emotional this episode. I wasn't expecting to, but that's what we get when it's almost my period. So I hope that you enjoyed this episode. And I hope for some of you that exploration of repetition compulsion and really applying that to situationships, that just gave you a new level of clarity, right? That, oh, it's actually not so much about the relationship, but it's about what the relationship represents to my brain. So I'm sending you so much love. Thank you for being part of this community. Thank you for tuning in. I do want to say, if you haven't done it, please, please, please go leave us a written review on Apple Podcasts. That means the world to me. That's how people find the show. So please leave a written review on Apple Podcasts. And then one more thing before I go. I have something so major coming in November. You guys are going to love it. Cannot wait to share it with you. I'll be sharing it on my social media. I obviously will share it here. If you're not following me on Instagram, what are you doing? Go to at Dr. Morgan Coaching. I put out daily content that's educational and helpful. So it's Dr. Morgan Coaching on Instagram. I'll also be announcing my big surprise there. So I can't wait. You guys are going to love it. And of course, I'm wishing you high self-worth and great relationships. I'll talk to you soon.